members who joined virtually and physically. Today we have an interesting topic, how CS have benefited from the ICAI and CPA Australia MRA. To talk on this subject, how to do CPA, what are the opportunities in the CPA by doing CPA, what are the opportunities in India as well as Australia, and what is the course curriculum, examination pattern, everything they talk in detail. To speak on this topic, we have two eminent speakers, none other than Preeti Dang, business head, and CA Alap Chhatrapati, CPA Alap Chhatrapati. I welcome you both for the Bangalore branch program.
Thank you.
Hope members will take the benefit of attending this program. I see to that many members will join CPA and make best use of CPA. With this, I once again welcome you all for this program. I request our Secretary Pramod Hegde to give a brief introduction of speaker. Over to you, Pramod.
Thank you, Chairman. Well, we have Ms Preeti Dang and Mr. Alap Chhatrapati. I would like to introduce Ms Preeti Dang, who is the business head of CPA Australia, India liaison. Preeti has been on the ground resource for CPA Australia for past 6 years. Preeti's main role is to drive new members' growth and support the members of CPA Australia in India. She is responsible for providing leadership strategy and direction on stakeholders relations, customer acquisition, marketing, and commercial development. She is also working as a country head for VETASIS, Australia's largest independent skill assessment authority. Preeti has been an instrumental in raising the profile of VETASIS with the key stakeholders and relevant government agencies across India, including the MOU with the National Skill Development Corporation of India to develop opportunities to enable Indian workers to fill skills shortages to support Australian employers struggling to source local staff. Preeti also works as a consultant and provides complete end-to-end services to various organizations in Australia that wish to make a footprint in India. From the initial consultation to the establishment of the targeted market, she assists organizations in achieving their goals by identifying the opportunities and subsequently developing strategies through qualitative research, utilizing her in-depth knowledge of the education industry spread across India. With this brief introduction, I would like to welcome Ms. Preeti Dang. And also, we have Mr. Alap Chakraparty, who is CPA Australia, who didn't give his bio sheet since he wanted to introduce himself during the course of it. But however, he is a CEO of Soaring Scholars Academy. So with this brief introduction, I would like to hand over the dais, and we have Ms. Preeti and Alap. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Chairman, and thank you so much, Secretary. I'll now share my presentation. I hope I'm audible. Hi, am I audible? All right, so thank you so much, Chairman and Secretary as well, and for giving me the opportunity. And many thanks to all the international affairs team as well. Just give me a second. Am I not audible?
You're audible.
All right, I think we got a message saying somebody is not able to hear me. So I hope you all can hear me.
Yes, you can audible.
All right, thank you so much. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to come here at the Bangalore branch and talk to the members of Bangalore and the entire Karnataka region In fact, we wanted to see many people here in the branch face to face. So never mind, we will be back again and hope to see you in physical mode, and where we can interact with you more. So just starting with the presentation and just giving you a quick brief. I head the business operations here for CPA Australia for past few years. We have a India liaison office. We are based out of New Delhi, and we have a very excellent team here who've been supporting all the ICAI members who have been interested to embark on the CPA program, also during the learning journey, and also when they become a CPA member. Today I'll be I'm just moving to the next slide, but my slide's not moving, so just give me a minute. Is there any person? Yeah. All right, thank you. Right, so I'll be sharing about who CPA Australia is, our global network, and the opportunities in Australia and beyond, the accounting landscape, also obviously interestingly about the mutual recognition between the ICAI and CPA Australia, the eligibility and how you can become a CPA member, and what are the documents required. We will have certainly a lot of time to answer the questions. So if you have any questions, you can drop in into the chat box and we'll be happy to take them on. So who we are, I think it's very important, first to understand the organization that you'll be sort of, connecting with. We are very, very proud of our history. We are an organization which was founded in 1886. So we celebrated 136 years last month. So, and we have about 170,000 members in 100 plus countries. Our membership is, more than 25,000 of our members are actually in a senior leadership positions. And out of that, 10,000 of those are actually CEOs and CFOs. We've been championing the profession and members since 1886. Our designation is pretty global in nature. As you can all see here, our representation is across the globe over. We have offices in 20 countries. That includes the commercial hub of Shanghai, Singapore, and London. We also have establishments in America and beyond. 25, we have more than 25 collaborations with all the membership bodies around the world. So what it brings to you as a CPA aspirant is, if you're in any of these countries and you want to, look at further, having another membership, you're happy to explore that as well. We have about 450 recognized employer partners around the world. I will talk about it a little bit in more detail in my next slide. So this is a very brief snapshot. Obviously, we couldn't put all our recognized employer partners in one slide, but all our big fives or all financial services organizations, banks, and different industry bodies have, even the tech firms are recognized employer partner. So if you are already working in industry and you work with any of these organizations in India, all these organizations recognize CPA qualification. Recently, we've been also in discussion with global firms, some Indian organizations as well. For example, the GMR, the Adani Group, the ICICI Bank, and it's work in progress. That all of them is going to be with us as a recognized employer partner. So it obviously gives, and the reason why these organizations sort of supports and recognize and find this as a credible, because of the skill sets that the CPA members bring on board to the organization. Snapshot of our members. The reason why we're trying to show this as well is we have about 1,500 active members in India. We have more than that, with probably who have, embarked on the CPA program to the ICAI MRA, but a lot of them are now, globally working in different organizations, but we have members coming from, different spheres of life. We have very, very senior members with us, as you can also see, Mr. Jain, who is a very, very senior member in the org. He's the CEO of the, currently was with the Mumbai International Group, but now is with Adani Group as a CEO and taking care of all the 7 to 8 airports. We met him, we had an opportunity to meet him last month. Interestingly, we were just asking him the reason why he, at his level and why would he want to do the program. And he said, yeah, I wanted to learn more. And it's very important to continuously upskill yourself. So that's very interesting. And also you can see in the slide, we have members from different organizations like JP Morgan's of the world, Bank of America. We have Big Fours, we have all members from Big Fours. We also have a lot of people coming from Standard Chartered and other banks. Now, I will not talk too much about the benefits they've derived from this subject, which is on offer as an ICAI member, because we have Alok with us. He will be sharing much more in detail about the benefits and what is the learning outcome from that subject. And I think at this point in time, when we talk about the global strategy and leadership, I think it will not make too much sense, because I will take you through in my next slides. Now, I'm not sure, I mean, face-to-face it helps, because we generally interact with the members just to understand, what's the reason why you are exploring the CPA program. But we understand that a lot of members who have and also willing to explore global opportunities and also opportunities in Australia. I'm just sharing a brief, information about, if you're looking at working in Australia, how does the accounting landscape look like? Now, accounting is one of the largest employing occupations. As you can see, there are active 2 lakh jobs in accounting, and this is the statistics for 2020. It have been more now, and is projected to grow by 9% over the 5 years. This largely concentrated in New South Wales, Victoria, and Queensland, but not limited to these places. Um, and so there's we generally get this question around, if I start or I embark on the CPA program or have a CPA qualification, what is the salary? What does the salary look like? Look, this is just a figure that we've just picked up from some, there's a website called jobseek.com.au. You can always refer to that. But a fresh accountant, the starting salary is about close to $50,000 to $60,000. If you have experience of 5 years, it could be $100,000. More than 10 years could be $200,000. So, but don't quote me for this, because it also depends on the skill set that you bring on board to the employers. Now, as you can see on the slides, we mentioned about some skills and traits that's been published by the employers, and this is, I don't think so it's just in Australia. I think it's pretty global. I think even in India, the employers, we've been meeting a lot of employers, and I think what been told by looking at first of all is a professional qualification. Now, I believe all of you present here, you already chartered accountants, you already have a professional qualification. Now, but when you go to Australia, they are looking for a qualification which is, from Australia itself, and also which is more internationally recognized. So having a CPA qualification is a must. Because if you just Google, don't believe me, just go on Google, you look for certain opportunities that have been published by the organization, you'll see most of the jobs will require you to be a CPA member. So hence, that's the first and foremost important requirement by the employers. Now, the other thing what they're looking at is obviously highly skilled. So there is a huge shortage. As you all understand, the Australian economy obviously they're supported by the migrants. There are a lot of Indians who have moved to Australia and contributing to the Australian economy. But at the same time, the requirement is only for a highly skilled people. So, you need to also understand, Alap will be talking about, because he's worked in Australia for 20 years. He'll be sharing about the experiences and what exactly the employees are looking for. But the foremost important thing is you need to understand the Australian culture, right? You need to be technologically savvy, right? So you have to understand Tally doesn't work in Australia. So you need to have an understanding of and get familiar with the accounting softwares. And how do you interpret? So we understand as a chartered accountants, we're very, very good in number crunch, right? But do we know how do you interpret the financial statements? So all of this, is something that an employer is looking for in Australia, and even beyond that as well. I've already talked about it. There's a huge shortage. There's all the industries are crying in for the right set of people. In fact, the year when even the borders were closed, the Australian government has come up with the skills priority list, in which accountants were on the top of the list. These are some of the occupations which was in very, very high demand and is also currently in high demand. Now, I don't know how many of you knew about before we had actually sent this information across to you, but this mutual recognition agreement with the ICAI is a world class. This has been there since the year 2009. Last year, we signed this for the third time in the row. And the reason I think the Institute here as well have seen the importance of it and how the members have benefited. We have seen that the chartered accountants, because they are very technically savvy, so they've been able to use the technical expertise with the organizations that now they're currently working globally. Now, just a quick look in terms of how our program is structured and where does the MRA sit with. So as ICAI has 3 levels in the program, we have 2 levels. We call it foundation and the main CPA program. So good news is, if you're a chartered accountant, you are exempted from all foundation exams. You're also exempted from 5 main subjects, and only subject that you're required to do is global strategy and leadership. So all in all, you are exempted out of 11 subjects, and you're required to do only 1 subject, which is global strategy and leadership. So this is the overview of the process. So what happens is once you make up your mind, if you're interested to apply to CPA, you first become an associate member with us. So there's a documentation that needs to be done. I'll take you through in my next slides. So very simple process, but needs to be quickly done because our enrollments have opened yesterday, and so this is a good time for you to start the program. So you're required to do, once you become an associate member, you're required to do 1 subject, which is global strategy and leadership. The other one is an online module, which is better practice in governance and accountability. So 1 exam and the other is a test. So the difference is that the global strategy and leadership sits within our semester periods. So you'll have to physically either come to a center or give your examinations via the online proctored. Whereas for the online module, you can take it up any time of the year. And this can be given from your comforts of your home and is available around the year. So the process is going to be simple. You submit your documents, you get an assessment outcome, you activate your membership, you enroll in the global strategy and leadership, you sit for your exams, you clear your exam, then you complete your online module, and you attain the CPA status. And the interesting part is this can be done in a shorter stint, which is about 6 to 8 months. That's the maximum. So any member who would be joining the program with us now will, move on to the CPA status by end of November. So I'll skip this slide, but this global strategy outcome is what Alap will be really talking in detail with you. So I'll move on to the next slide. So in terms of, the examination, So as I mentioned, we have test centers. We've always had that in for the last 10 years. In India, we have about 15 centers. But with COVID, I think we've got some flexibilities available. So if you don't want to step out of your home like you didn't do today, then you can do it online proctored, sitting flexibility at home. But there's some little technology thing that you need to understand. So if you are comfortable doing that, please do that using online proctor, or else you can come and see us at the test center to give your examination. In terms of preparation, SCP Australia and the feedback that we've been getting from members, uh, and 12 to 15 hours should be okay. Alap may have a different view to this, but why I say this is like, for example, somebody coming with certain years of experience may require this much, but somebody who just freshly graduated, new in the corporate world, may require some more time, as you also understand by the subject that the global strategy and leadership. You may have to spend a lot of time. I believe allowed to talk about what's the difference between the Indian curriculum and the structure that we provide. Um, as I've already mentioned, the enrollment is already open. So this is the period that you can start your global strategy and leadership. The examination is in the month of September. So we have a window. Again, CPA believes in giving a lot of flexibility because we understand the members who are starting the program are working adults and need that flexibility. Threshold is that minimum 60% is what you need to score to clear the subject. Again, I'll skip this because Allah will talk about all the study support, but believe me, it is not a purely distance learning program. We have curated a lot of resources within the CPA program. Apart from the study material that comes to you, there's a lot of the online material available, the recorded webinars. What the interesting part is, and I think members have come back to us and as appreciated, is about and that we've started only a few semesters back, which is the practice test. So there are 2 practice tests. So even before you sit for the examination, there's a practice test 1 which gives you know how some understanding on where do you stand with your preparation. By practice 2, you would know that what you're going to be scoring, and if you want to score a little bit more, you need to brush up last minute on the content that you've missed on. Better practice, as I already mentioned, it's available around the year. There's a threshold. There's a 75% is what you require. Please don't confuse this one. This has nothing to do with and you will not be able to find this module within the CPA program. So this is more like a bite-sized learning. It's something, if you're already in industry, or because you're also an ICAI member, you understand there's a continuing professional development that you need to do. So this module actually is from that. So there's a lot of flexibility available. You pay, you download the material, you read through. There's a multiple choice questions you attempt. If you don't score well, you have another attempt and another attempt. So 3 attempts that you get only for this module. Please do not expect that happening for the global strategy and leadership. In terms of eligibility, I would say all of you present, if you're already a chartered accountants, you are eligible to enroll in the CPA program. But what we require is a good standing. So if you're in good books with ICAI, then you can start the program immediately, but we will still need the letter coming from ICAI to say that yes, you are in good books with the institute here. So what is the requirement of getting a letter of good standing? It's basically you're paying the membership on a regular basis and you have completed your CPE hours. The second most important thing is that obviously we understand that I don't think so in India we've seen anybody who embark or come on the CPA program through another MRA, but you need to have completed all the three levels and the practical experience as well before you start the program. The third important document that we require from you is the university degree. Now, it is important because there are only few professional bodies in the world who are actually at the postgraduate level. Now, I seriously mean that because nobody can start the CPA program, whether it's through a MOU, MRA, or regular who wants to do the CPA program without having a university degree. So you need to first complete a university degree to be able to, start the CPA program. Now, as I said, this arrangement is actually one of a kind, and I have to reiterate on that because uh, nowhere in the world we have this arrangement that if a member does not have a university degree, can still do the program provided he can support or share 5 years of experience. Now, this experience is only required if you do not have a bachelor's degree. So I've already taken you through. You can take a screenshot of this. If you're not aware of how do you complete your CP hours, our team here in India is equipped. They can help you. Please feel free to reach out. If you're industry, we know, what are the requirements. If you are practicing, we also know about the requirements. This is all of, so again, why we are flashing this slide is we have received this feedback from the members saying that, look, if I'm giving you a good standing certificate, then you can believe us that I've completed all the levels. Sorry, this is the protocol, and our assessors would need all of this. So please share your CPT, your IPCC, which is the intermediate and final year mark sheet. So all 3-year mark sheet is required and in the form that our assessors expect this to be. So what we have done is in the office here in India, we encourage you all to share your documents first with the office here. We do the preliminary verification and we put the documents in the order our Australian assessors would expect, and then only you submit your documents online. Additionally, for bachelor's as well, we would require a bachelor's degree, all the 3 years. Important, please, we understand if you provide a certificate, bachelor's certificate, which means you have completed 3 years, but my assessors need all 3 years. So you'll have to produce all the 3 years mark sheet. Unfortunately, and we understand ICAI has an arrangement with IGNOU, which you can have it in 1 year, but we do not accept that degree. So just in case you have undergone a program with IGNOU, I would encourage you to then go through the experience route instead of the degree route. You can take a screenshot because I'm not sure how many of you do not have a bachelor's degree, but just in case you are, then I'll quickly take you through, but you can take a screenshot and my team can talk to you in much more detail in terms of what the documents are required, because this is they're different for somebody who is industry employed and who is somebody who is into the practicing side of things. So but in the 5 years experience, we do consider 3 years of articleship. So that's again a good news. So which means there's only 2 more years that you need to produce in the form of the documents. Okay, so the most important part. So what's the total cost of doing the CPA? So as I took you through that, you need to first become an associate member. But prior to that, when you submit your application, we have a fee of $173, and this is an Australian dollar. So this is waived off, provided you go through the India office. You submit the documents when we have done the verification. So once you do that, once the office does that, we will share a promo code with you. With that will so once you submit the application, our system will prompt you to pay 173. So use the promo code to get the exemption. I'll repeat, please, if you have already done the application process, or if you go through without the office, there is no refund available. So please take the promo code from the the India office, and only then submit your application. So you save 173 straight away. This is the middle of the year, so you only pay the half yearly associate membership fee, which is $152. Then the fee for global strategy and leadership is 1340. But you can, if you join now, between now to end of this month, if you join or enroll in this subject, you can avail the early bird price. So the fee is 1190 Australian dollars. For better practice, it's 240 Australian dollars. So I believe by now you all might have already calculated, what exactly that you need to pay. But if if you're looking at in terms of INR, I would say it's much, much lesser than, I think about a lakh, I think about 80 or 1,000 rupees to become a CPA member. So this is all from my side. Happy to take questions post, Alap's presentation. Please take a note of our India address, the email ID, and the phone number, and you can reach out to us. If you're really interested, I would suggest that please apply for the good standing certificate today itself. If not latest by tomorrow, we will be sending you an email which will have all the details about how to apply. But if you're really interested, I will encourage you to start the process immediately so that you don't miss out on this semester. Just to let you know, this is the last semester for this year. If you miss out this semester, then you will start the program or sit for your examination mid-April next year. So I would suggest, happy to help whatever you need to, quickly start on the CPA program. So now I'll pass on the rights to Alap, and he will be now sharing about the global strategy and leadership. I won't talk much about it, but he's been teaching that for over 6 years now. All right, great. So over to you, Alap, from there.
Share my screen. See. Good. Okay. Good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Secretary, and thank you, Preeti, for that lovely presentation. Thank you all for coming here and attending the session physically. I hope to see a lot more faces than what I have in the boardroom, but nonetheless, thank you for making an effort to come out. A bit about myself first. Alap Chhatrapati is my name. I'm the CEO of Soaring Scholars Academy. I'll talk about my academy and my background a little bit later, and I've done that on purpose. What we'll do is we'll talk about global strategy and leadership. As Preeti has touched on it, it makes sense to continue the presentation from there on. So what is global strategy and leadership? Essentially, it's the capstone subject, the final subject of the CPA program. What it does is it consolidates the learnings from ethics and governance, financial reporting, and strategic management accounting, all combined together. Now, why we need to do this subject and why there is no exemption, I do get asked that question. The reason is our professions change. We no longer just do debits and credits, books of accounts, etc. That is all done through Tally or whatever software we use. All right, lodgement's done online, GST, income tax, everything's online. So as an accountant, what is our role? So the term accountant is getting a little bit obsolete, where most of our clients look at us as a value driver in their business. What value can we provide in terms of improving the business, improving their productivity, making the bottom line a little bit better? If you are a practicing chartered accountant, that applies to you. How can you add more value in your own practice? This subject teaches you that, okay? And I'll cover the contents of the subject a little bit later, okay? The reason why we are considered as value drivers is because the global environment is changing very fast. It's very dynamic. because we are all connected with the internet. COVID was a classic example how quickly things disrupted and how quickly we needed to adapt in order to function. So that is not a one-off thing, it's a constant thing. The change is going to be constant. COVID is just one example. And that's where, how can we add value to our clients' business or our own practice in a dynamic and ever-changing world? That is what the subject teaches you. Okay, there are two key aims of the subject. The primary aim is to provide candidates with an understanding of the concepts and the principles that underpin the practices of strategy. Essentially, what is strategy? How to build a good strategy. That is what the subject teaches you. Okay, how to be a good leader in the globalized economy. Okay, that's the first aim. The second primary aim is to be able to apply the concepts that you learn from the book in real life. So it is a practical subject, right? And the secondary aim is essentially to consolidate whatever knowledge we have from ethics, financial reporting, and SMA. Okay, so that's a secondary aim. Now, I'll come back on the primary aim of to be able to apply these concepts in real life business case. Why is it important? It becomes a little bit challenging for us Indian students in saying that the way we are conditioned in our learning journey is we read from the book, we kind of remember things from the book, and we write the theory in the exam, and then we either pass or fail. Okay, that's the way our Indian system of education is. Australia doesn't work that way. Australia is a practical oriented country. So the exam is practical. You wouldn't get any theory questions in the exam. You'd get given case studies and you will have to solve those case studies based on the concepts that you've learned. So it requires a little bit of shift in the mindset for us Indian students. Now I'll cover what CPA Australia has and what I do in order to help shift that mindset a little bit later. Okay. Now these are broad outcomes from global strategy and leadership. This is important to understand. Reason being, this is what you're going to be tested on in the exam. Okay. So the first broad outcome is to understand the role of an accountant in all areas of strategy, right from analysis of the industry to analysis of the organization to plan and develop a strategy. What can an accountant do? That is what the first primary outcome is. Then moving on, the subject teaches you various analytical tools in order to analyze the industry and the market. Essentially everything outside the control of the organization. Okay. The organization cannot control the industry and the market. But in order to operate in the industry, you need to understand that. So the subject teaches you various models and tools in order to understand the industry and market. Then comes measuring the performance of the organization. This is where things get within the control of the organization. The organization can control its own performance. But if you want to add value to your client's business, you need to understand that business. The subject teaches you and gives you various analytical tools and models to understand the organization from within. Then the fourth and the most important learning outcome is effective decision making. Timely and effective decision making is important so that you can add value on a timely manner. Okay, that's what the subject teaches you. The fifth outcome is to identify and explain challenges faced in implementation of the strategy. Now, it's good to have a plan on paper, but when you start implementing that plan, that's when you start facing the challenges. The subject teaches you on identifying those challenges and mitigating them. And then consolidate all the understanding of strategy and leadership concepts. Remember, it's a dynamic world. Hence, implementation of strategy is also very dynamic. You've got to change things because the market and the industry will keep changing when you're implementing the strategy. Subject teaches you how to keep changing in a dynamic environment. And then the last outcome is to apply the skills and think strategically in formulating a broad strategy and apply it in real world scenarios. All right. All your clients would be different. All their circumstances would be different. They would all need individual strategies if you want to add value. That is what the subject teaches. Okay. Now, we talked about the exam a little bit earlier. I'll dive into what the exam looks like. It's divided into 3 sections. The first is 52 multiple choice questions, 1 mark each. Okay. The second is again multiple choice, but this time you get given short case studies, about 2 or 3 paragraphs. Each case study would have 4 multiple choice questions associated with it. Each multiple choice question again carries 1 mark. Okay, this is what we call section B, or the Vignette style MCQs. Okay, and then comes section C, which is the extended response question. Okay, so you get given a case study which essentially is roughly about 2 pages long, and you get given 3 or 4 questions. We don't know how many questions comes in the exam for section C, but what we do know is it's 12 marks. So sometimes you get 3 questions, 4 marks each, or you get 4 questions, 3 marks each. Okay, but 12 marks essentially is what you get. So the total is 80 marks. Now, this is how the book looks like. This is the content of the book. Right, 7 modules. First is introduction to strategy and leadership, a little bit of theory on why strategy is important, what leadership is, etc. Second is about external environment, understanding and analysis of industry and market. Third is understanding and analysis of the internal environment within the control of the organization. Once you've done that, you then look at different options the organization has in order to grow. So either develop a product, continue with the same product, develop a new service, or develop a new market. What are the different options that the organization can pursue? Based on these options, then comes development of a strategic plan. You start drawing up a plan on the paper. That is module 5. Once the plan is drawn up, you need to implement it. That's what module 6 talks about, strategy implementation and the challenges. And then comes the last module, which is the strategy and leadership of emerging business models. Now, this is a new topic that CPA has introduced, and very rightly so. Giving an example, Uber came in a few years ago and shook the very foundation of the transport industry, a very well-established taxi industry. Uber came in with a very different concept and model, right? So all these new models are very emerging, and they come out every day, and they disrupt the well-established mature industries. What can these mature industries do to mitigate the threat of emerging models? That's all covered in module 7. Okay. Overall, if you look at this 7 modules, they are very, very, very broad. And hence, to most of my students, do not underestimate the time it will take to complete the subject. Reason being, our mindset needs to change. We've done the theory and we have applied the theory in the exam so far. Now, the exam is going to be a practical exam. It's not going to be a theoretical exam. And hence, you need to study a little bit more. So remember, Preeti, in her slide, she mentioned 12 to 15 hours a week. That's a bare minimum. Most of my students, I tell them, 12 to 15 hours just reading and understanding the concepts, but at least another 5 to 6 hours of practicing, because your exam is going to be practical. It's not going to be theory. Okay, so you need to practice. Now, I'll talk about some of the reasons for failure, and I'll explain why I do this. Reason is, I don't want to discourage people, but it is important to understand what the feedback is from the students who have failed in GSL so far. Okay, the first is poor preparation. You just haven't had a chance to read the book or practice enough. So you're not prepared well for to appear for the exam. Second is poor time management. Now, we saw the exam format, 80 marks. You get 3 hours and 15 minutes to complete 80 marks. That essentially gives you roughly about 2 minutes per mark. Now, 2 minutes, that includes reading the question, reading the case study, understanding the case facts, understanding the question, analyzing the case facts, and then writing up the right answer. All this in 2 minutes per mark. It's a lot, and hence it requires a lot of practice. A lot of students fail to finish the exam, or they miss out and they fail. Okay, and hence time management is important. And failure to read the question. Interestingly, a lot of students just write theory without understanding what the examiner has asked. So they don't actually read the question and they don't get any extra marks for just writing theory. So these are the common reasons for failure. Now what CPA Australia does is given study support upon your enrollment. So what study support is available to you when you enroll into the subject? CPA Australia provides online study support. So once you enroll, you get given a username and a password on CPA Australia's website, where you can access this study support, where there are pre-recorded videos, there are practice questions, and there are 2 practice tests that Preeti mentioned earlier. Okay, so this is given to you upon enrollment in the subject. A lot of students don't find this enough. They need a little bit more hand-holding, a little bit more support. That's where I come in. Okay, so my academy, Soaring Scholars, I offer personal tuition for global strategy and leadership. What it includes is a personalized study plan to make sure that you guys are on track with your studies every week, simplified notes to cover all the important topics of global strategy and leadership. So I've simplified the book. I provide that to you on a weekly basis before this tutorial so that you can take a printout, you go through it, and we can talk about that in the tutorial itself. I provide an index in an Excel format that you can modify, you can play around with. Index is important, reason being it's an open book exam. When it is an open book exam, you get tempted to open the book and make sure that whatever you're selecting or whatever you're doing is right. When you do that, you waste time. And hence an index is important so that you know what page to open. Okay. What I do is 16 live sessions, roughly about 21 hours. Generally, it's more than that. My sessions generally go over time. Okay. What it includes, it's 7 weekly tutorials, about 10 and a half to cover all the important topics. An exam preparation, 2.5 hours, and 8 weekly query solving sessions, Q&A sessions. All right, just focusing on solving your doubts. Okay, that's what I do. Now, and I also provide practice questions towards the end of the semester. This is in addition to the practice questions provided by CPA Australia. Okay. Now, I'll talk about myself. The reason I've kept this at last is to make you guys understand the importance of the designation of CPA. Okay, but I'll talk about Soaring Scholars first. All right, so I finished my CPA in 2015. Since then, I've been teaching. I've taught more than 2,000 students. Most of them have got good grades, credit, high distinction, and distinctions. Okay. Now, I also provide mentorship program. I'll not talk about that today. That's upon when you guys register. But essentially, it helps you achieve your career goals if you're looking to migrate to Australia. Okay. Now, I'll talk about myself, and I've kept this as my last slide. And these are the benefits of having a CPA designation. These are my qualifications. I'm a CPA Australia full member. I've got a Master of Commerce, majors in Audit and Accounting, and Master of Applied Finance. Now, my professional career over 20 years in Australia. I worked in the tax administration, so income tax department, as we call it in India. I worked in that. I started as a junior accountant or junior auditor. And after completing my CPA, I rose up the rank, picked up a few promotions, went into tax crime, which is essentially equivalent to search and seizure, as you call it, here in India. Did a lot of interesting raids, interesting stuff that I did, all because of my designation. After that, I got headhunted by the Australian Federal Police to lead their anti-money laundering and organized crime cell. So I represented the Income Tax Department in the National Task Force for Australian Federal Police. That happened because of my CPA designation. And after that, I got headhunted by the corporate regulator, which is ASIC, Australian Securities and Investment Commission, which is our counterpart to SEBI. Now, SEBI is a corporate regulator here. I got headhunted by SEBI ASIC to lead their investigations area, doing forensic accounting. That's what I currently do. Okay, I'm not going to talk about this, but very importantly, what I do is provide very simple tuition material. a lot of tips on how to study, and I make sure I give you a lot of examples to make you understand the concepts that we look in the book. Okay. These are some of the testimonials that I've received. Some of them I received a couple of days ago because we had the results 2 days ago, just before the enrollment opened. So some of the testimonials I have received from my students over a period of last year. And if you want to reach me, these are my contact details. If you want to take a screenshot of this, happy for you guys to email, WhatsApp. You can visit my website as well. And thank you very much for attending. Happy to take any questions.
Mail ID.
Sorry, say that again.
Mail ID.
Mail ID. Mail ID. alap@soaringscholars.com.au. I'll just expand it a little. Are you getting any questions in the chat box?
Hi. Are there any questions? Can you put them under the Q&A here, and we'll pick it up from here? Called CA Australia and New Zealand, which scans. Yeah, the two different professional bodies. The ICAI I would know, I'm not aware of.
Online can hear. The question is, can you take the better practice and governance module, or do you have to wait after you finish GSL? The answer is no, you can take both together, or you can do better practice at any time. Okay, GSL, you only can do it twice in a year because it's a semester system for GSL, but not for better practice.
Continuous testing.
Yes.
The other testing that like you have to go to the laboratory center, or you can take it from your phone.
Better practice is only from online. GSL, you can go to the test center as well. Yeah, so GSL, you have two options, online or test center.
What are the benefits of being CPA in India if you affiliate?
Well, two things. If you're looking to migrate, it gives you a good qualification. Second, it's a good learning and development, a self-development opportunity. It's an internationally recognized qualification, as Preeti mentioned. It's recognized globally with so many different countries and so many members. That's one of the primary benefits that you would get. And the benefit that as a CA you would get is you don't have to go through the full program. You only have to do one subject to attain the CPA status.
Okay, just to understand a little bit more about yourself. So you're working or you're into practice? Correct. Right. So, yeah, so it could be different for you. So again, I've been people attending online. I've got a question here in terms of understanding the benefits if somebody is into practice. I think I was told, and I'm so sorry that I think I missed talking about the I mean, the benefits to the members who are into practicing. So what we have seen in India, and I think if we look at current members, I'll sorry, I'm facing that side, but there are a lot of members here, but I'll talk to you post this. So what we have seen is our members, I mean, as I said, we have about 1,500 active members. So I would say about 30% of it is all is, into practicing. The reason why they opted for CPA Australia because they're looking at business expansion. Now, it's not always about practicing. The how it works in Australia is a little different. So once you become a CPA member, you can't straight away start with practice. In Australia, there's something called public practice program that you need to undergo to be able to then practice in Australia. So if any of you are interested, you please feel to write to us, and one of my teammates will call you and take you through the program, the requirements, and how exactly. But on a personal note, and especially what we are hearing from the members, it's not that easy that you start or straight away get into public practice. I mean, I would say that if you are interested, then you'll have to, maybe spend some more time in Australia, work in an industry first, right? Simultaneously, you can complete your public practice, work under a public practice firm, take some experience, and then if you see that is something that you want to do, then you get into public practice. What we have seen in India, there are a lot of organizations, who are into practice that is doing a very large size business and supporting the Australian clients. So there's lot many in Gujarat, there's lot many in South India as well. So, and they have, clients, I mean, 300 to 400 Australian clients that they've been servicing. So again, it is not easy. You can't straight away start tomorrow. You will have to do some basic research, some qualifications, some trades. But at the same time, if you need to tap into the Australian market, you will have to be in Australia. You need to use some of the networking platforms that we provide. And we provide a lot of them. And that is the benefit, as a member. We have something called Members Connect that we have launched a couple of years back. So you all can be, once you become a CPA member, that gives you access to the members globally. You can always be in touch with the members to understand exactly how things work in Australia. So use that as a platform. Connect with members in India. We have about 5 discussion groups. A lot of them, as I already mentioned, are into practicing. Some are doing large size projects with Australian companies. So there are some who are just managing about 5 to 10 Australian clients to start with. So the members are happy to help. So but you need to network, you need to connect with the members, and we provide you those opportunities. So Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, in fact, one of the first few ones when we started our discussion group, we already have a discussion group in Bangalore. So if you are in part of any part of the Karnataka, or maybe in Tamil Nadu, we also have one in Chennai. So you could be part of these discussion groups to network and understand exactly how the outsourcing business can happen. But yes, pretty much possible. But we can talk one on one on more in detail when we speak to you this week or coming week. Maybe I'll talk to you. Are there any questions? I mean, you can put your questions in the chat box or in the Q&A section here. Yeah, so you need to, I mean, the first step is to reach out to the institute to request for a letter of good standing, because that also takes about a week, 10 days, and that is only possible if your CP hours are completed. So if that happens, then, and in the meantime, you just, put all your documents together, send it to the Indian team, the team in Delhi office. They will look at your documents, put it in the order that the way it needs to be submitted. I guess by the time your good standing will come, and then you can upload all your documents to. Yeah, so we will share. You have cards, we can share card with you. But I can flash. Can you give me the sharing rights, please? I can flash the the office address. You all can take a note of the address here. Can you read, because I can't remember.
I'll read it out.
Yeah, sure.
What are the dates? Okay, so we got a question in the Q&A. It says, what are the dates for GSL exam each year? And what is the fee?
What are the dates for global strategy and leadership?
What is the fee?
Yeah, so the examination is, I think, sorry, I don't have the dates in front of me, but it's September, mid-September to end September. That's the 15 to 20-day window that we have. So they asked for the fees for global strategy and leadership. So the fees is 1190 Australian dollars, provided you submit your application within this month itself. So that's an early bird offer. For that, even if the outcome hasn't come, the application with the letter of good standing needs to be submitted on the CPA website to avail the early bird offer. So the 1190 Australian dollars is the fee for global strategy and leadership. And this includes everything, your study material, the study support, your examination fees, and so forth. Is there another question there? So something coming up. Okay.
If not early bird, what is the time? The question. If not early bird, then what is the time for enrollment? I think there is a slide that you have. Slide with the fees and the exam period and all that.
This one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so as I've mentioned, we have 2 semesters in a year. This is the last semester for 2022, so which means the batch formally commences in July, and the examination is in the month of September. If you miss on this semester, then the enrollments will start in January 2023, and the examination for the same will be in April 2023.
So there's another question. For this exam in September, what is the exam period? I think it is 27th of September to first week of August. I think there is. Is it? Yeah. So yeah, I think around that. Is it 10th of September? No, it is. Yeah, it is end of September to the middle of October. So there is a period of about 2 weeks that you get to book your exam and take your exam. Okay. There's another question. After qualifying CPA, do you help in getting jobs in Australia? That's a question we have.
Right. We get this question very often. The answer to this is no. We are not a placement agency. It's a professional body. And so what we do is we provide you enough platforms where you could network and look for jobs. Interestingly, we're having a very good conversation with the employers in India, and they are looking for a good skill set. So how we work, obviously India is pretty new for us as well, but in the countries like Singapore, Malaysia, I mean I'm talking outside of Australia as well, we have this something called Career Week, that we do, where we have employers and we have members, so their live jobs, and members can sort of, sort of look for those jobs. Apart from that, what we do is there are a lot of employers, they share, as part of the global recognized employer partnership, they share their what they're looking for, what sort of skill set, and we pass it on to our members. I'll give you an example. There was a requirement from Google Singapore. Google is again a recognized employer partner, and they were looking for certain people with a certain skill sets in Hyderabad and Chennai. So we passed it on to our members, and people did apply for those jobs. We don't know if somebody got that job from Hyderabad or not, but I mean obviously we don't keep that track. But a similar thing that our conversation with employers are happening. So if you are looking at for good opportunity, we are the employers will share their requirements and we will pass on to you, uh, you know once you become a CPA member.
Coming back to that question for the exam period this September. So the exam period is, the exact dates are 27th September 2022 to 16th of October 2022. That's the exam period.
CPA membership, membership? No, full member.
So there's another question. There's a comment. Please answer my question. But Chand, we don't have your question. So if you can just retype your question, that would be helpful. Naman's asked, can we hold dual membership ICAI and CPA Australia?
If you're working in industry, yes, we this is the MRA helps you to have a dual recognition and dual qualification. So the answer is yes, you can.
And the question is coming. Thank you for a good presentation. Is it equally good to senior members or only for younger or new members?
Okay, so we have members from all walks of life. In fact, if you ask me, how many would join immediately, like, few years of experience, I would say only 20%. We have majority in the mid level, which is five to, I would say, 15 years experience, and then a senior. In fact, I've been talking, and mentioning this as well, is that in the last 2 years, we've actually seen a lot of change during the pandemic, and now we have many senior level people joining the CPA program. So whether as I showed you the Kejan, who is the CEO of the, I mean, he's not the only one, right? So there are many more who are very senior level. So even the GMR, the CFO has joined the program. We have people coming from Adani Group. We have from ICICI Bank, the CFO joining the CPA program. So many more. I mean, at all levels, it does benefit at all the levels, I would say. The initial graduates, a few years of experience, probably the intent is to look at global mobility. But majority, if I look at middle level and senior level, it is purely for the upskilling purpose and continuous learning.
Concluded? Preeti ji, you got concluded? Hello. Ready ಇರ್ಲಿ ನಾ ಹೇಳ್ತೀನಿ. Hello. Can you hear me? Hello. Hello. Alap ji.
Yeah.
Preeti ji, can you hear me?
Yes, if there are no more questions, we can conclude. And, anyways, I mean, if you're sorry, if you're not able to answer your question, please do not worry. My team will be in touch with you in the next couple of days. And if there's individual cases, happy to discuss and consult.
Thank you, Preeti ji and Alap, for excellent presentation. Hope members got benefited your presentation. Thank you. We look forward for continued support for conduct many more programs like you. I request our committee member, Treasurer CA Manjunath Hallur to present a memento to Preeti ji. I request Manjunath to present a memento. Also, please present a bouquet, Manju. I thank all the CPA members present here today and all the members present physically and virtually.